I, 29M, have been engaged to my fiancé, 28F, for a few months now. We had dated for just shy of 2 years prior to that. It would be cliché to say everything was going great, but for the most part it was good. My family really took a liking to her, which was also really great. Now, I've never been the one to think too much about how I'm viewed as a partner, but all of that changed recently. I basically overheard her on the phone, telling her friend that if she wants to find the one, excitement isn't important. She basically said, "My name isn't exciting, but he makes me feel safe," and that's when I realized I wanted to settle down with him. This hit me kinda hard. I've read these types of posts before. You know, the whole "she goes for bad boys then settles with a safe schmuck" type of thing. But I don't think that's what she meant. So the day after, I just straight up told her that I overheard her talking about me and that I don't understand what she meant by not finding my exciting. She then told me that it's true that she doesn't find me exciting, but that doesn't matter. I honestly felt very hurt. Maybe my ego is fragile? Ick. But it was a surprise to me because I felt like the way I see myself in my head was colliding with how she sees me, and it made me feel spaced out. I asked her what she means by not finding my exciting, and she didn't seem to know how to even answer. She could see I was upset, and as pathetic as this sounds, I made an excuse to leave and said we'll talk about it later. Ever since then, my head has been spinning. I ride motorcycles. I have tattoos. I go to the gym. I do MMA as a hobby. So how is it that I'm not the exciting guy? I've always seen myself as being that exciting guy. My ex was basically obsessed with me and constantly made it clear she found me exciting. But MW, now fiancé, doesn't see me as exciting for whatever reason. I was honestly shocked because I felt my sense of self kinda crumble. And what made it worse is I am excited by her. When I see her, I want to rip her clothes off. I want to do things. I think about her. But she seemingly doesn't see me the same way at all. As crazy as this sounds, I have considered calling off the engagement entirely. Am I being crazy here? Relevant comments. Commenter. I think I get her, and get your take too. And it can just be some definitions here. Real talk. Your sense of being an exciting man is having a motorcycle, some ink, and going to the gym to wrestle? Your idea of being excited is ripping HR clothes off? Dude, gonna buy that convertible when you hit 50? Or the newest trend, an all-black Jeep with no hardtop? Everything you've posted is honestly rather routine and safe. You wear your insecurities like a light-up name badge in how you describe yourself, by the way, and don't even see it about yourself. I do manly thing. I am manly and exciting. It is kind of funny to see from an outside perspective. Probably not funny for you to hear that though. Exciting guys are the idiots who are unpredictable, truly off the wall. And while fun to be around, aren't anyone to aspire to be or be with. The guys who keep flipping jobs because they go on adventures, who tiptoe the line of illegal for funsies, who can turn the happy hour into a rave. Exciting, for sure, and doesn't sound like you. And that is a bad thing. Being predictable and safe is a good thing. I'd encourage you to stop overthinking here. OP. But the thing is, I never saw myself as that safe, stable guy. All my exes described me as exciting and clearly saw me that way. It's the self-image I always had of myself. Now I'm suddenly not that guy. I'm gonna have to talk to her more about this, but it really feels like the way I view myself has been shattered. Very hard to describe the feeling. Commenter. NTA for feeling hurt, and your partner did you no favors by not answering the question. Spiraling is going to lead to the end of the relationship for certain. I wouldn't call it off just yet. She really needs to explain the whole exciting thing. Some women with shitty relationship pasts think exciting is toxic behavior, cheating, disrespect, etc. Maybe she has kinks, who knows? Your view of excitement is probably different. Definitely talk before pulling the plug. She could have said this all wrong, or if it's the worst, you at least knew before you got married, and it's easier to break up than divorce. Update 1. The last few days have been a roller coaster of emotions. There were a lot of interesting perspectives from both male and female posters. It seems that the female posters said that being seen as safe is a really great compliment, whereas the male posters said I should run for the hills. Certainly an intriguing insight into how men and women see things differently. So I ended up talking to my fiancé about what she meant. She seemed really nervous and knew that she had upset me. I have to admit, I was quite nervous too. It's not easy when your sense of self has crumbled. Learning that you aren't seen in the way you think you are is a very tough feeling. I can't describe it, but it made me really feel fragile, in the truest sense of the word. I started by telling her that I was really upset about her comment because, frankly, I had always thought I was that exciting guy to her. I told her that in my mind, I was the guy who makes her heart skip a beat. So I had to brace myself and ask again what she meant when she said I wasn't exciting. She looked like she wanted to cry because I guess she could sense I was also upset. She said that she didn't want to hurt my feelings, but that I make her feel very safe and secure. And that with me, I'm not exciting in the sense that I don't give her thrills like her exes used to. Man, that hurt, but I was still confused. She was being really vague and not really clear in what she meant. I had to ask again what she meant by thrills, and she just began crying and apologizing. She tried to hug me, but I again walked out. I seem to do this when things get emotional, so I decided to take some shrooms and spend the day outside at a nearby lake. This helped me clear my mind and come to some devastating realizations about myself. I think what I realized was that I was lying to myself. Another commenter said it, which I didn't want to admit, which is I'm more into her than she is into me. I didn't disclose this on my first thread, but she never initiates cuddles. I don't think she's done that once. With my exes, they always initiated with me. You see, my fiancée is beautiful, to the point where I wonder how I landed her. But you see, that was the issue. Because I was so attracted to her, I wanted her approval. I know that sounds pathetic, but I was able to overlook red flags such as her lack of initiating sex. I thought if I stayed with her, she'd like me the way I like her. Now here's the kicker. I thought that, if I proposed to her, then over time I could win her over. I've been with women who were madly into me, and my fiancée just didn't behave like them at all. In addition to never initiating, she never complimented me much. It was always one-sided. A lot of this begs to question, why would she even be with me? I think that she saw me as someone who could provide stability. And I guess, maybe she thought my exterior, tattoos, motorcycles, MMA, craft beer, was a facade. I mean, maybe she was kinda right. Not that I don't enjoy those things, I do. But I am able to have that lifestyle because my parents are wealthy doctors. Maybe she thought I was cosplaying as a bad boy, and that in actuality I am a loaded rich kid who provides stability. The other insight I had was that, truth be told, I didn't want to actually get married. I definitely do one day, but I didn't really think it through. I thought to myself that if I propose, I will grow accustomed to the idea of getting married. But the truth is, I kind of want to continue my lifestyle as it is, which involves riding my motorcycle, fixing muscle cars, traveling across the country, going to festivals, etc. Do I want to get married one day? Of course. But I want to be with a woman who is really crazy about me. Someone who compliments me a lot, initiates sex, etc. So I ended up talking with her later on and telling her that I want to call things off and end things. I won't bore with details, but yes, she cried a lot, even got angry, said I wasted her time. I told her that it wasn't anything she did, but she didn't buy that and kept pressing. She told me that I misunderstood her comment, but I told her she couldn't even clarify what she thought. It ended with me telling her that I have nothing against her, but that I am just not ready for marriage. I told her that the lifestyle I want to continue in addition to me not feeling the connection I thought I had with her was why. Top commenter. She still didn't answer what the exes did that was so thrilling. I said it in your first post, and I'll say it again. Some people think of toxicity as a thrill, and I have a feeling that's what it is. At least you attempted to get an answer, and sorry it wasn't the one you deserve to hear. Feeling loved and safe is an important feeling, and it's what set my partner apart from me. Definitely didn't make him boring. Please don't change yourself on account of her crap mindset. I laughed when she said you wasted her time. The lady doth project too much. Update 2, alright. So here we are. If the first update felt like a bombshell, this one is more like the aftershocks still rippling through my life. A lot has happened since I ended things with my fiancé, and honestly, I'm still trying to figure out which way is up. After the breakup, I moved out of our shared apartment. It was a weirdly easy process, almost too smooth. No big fights or dramatic moments. I think we both knew it was over for real, even if we didn't want to admit it. I didn't want to be cruel, but I couldn't stay there any longer. It felt like I was living in someone else's life. Here's where things get wild. A couple days after I left, my phone started blowing up with messages from mutual friends. Apparently, my ex had a few things to say about me after the breakup, some of it more ridiculous than I expected. She's been telling people I'm going through a midlife crisis. I'm 29. So, not sure how that works, and that I sabotaged a good thing because I couldn't handle being normal. Okay, sure, maybe I didn't handle everything perfectly, but I thought I was being honest, and now she's spinning it like I went off the deep end? I wasn't too bothered at first. People are gonna talk, right? But then, things took a sharp left turn. One of our friends, let's call her Sarah, called me and asked if I knew that my ex was apparently talking to her old flame again. You know, one of the thrilling exes that she'd mentioned during that infamous conversation that sent me spiraling in the first place. And when I say talking, I mean they'd been in touch for months. Apparently, they'd been exchanging flirty messages while we were still together. Suddenly, everything clicked. All the vague comments about excitement and thrills, her lack of initiating affection, the weird distance, was like puzzle pieces falling into place. This wasn't just a communication breakdown or a difference in how we viewed excitement. There was something else going on behind the scenes, and I had been too wrapped up in my own insecurities to see it. So, what did I do? I confronted her. I'm not usually one for drama, but I needed to hear it straight from her. I texted her, asked her point blank if she'd been in contact with this guy while we were still engaged. And of course, she denied it at first. But after some back and forth, and maybe a few too many screenshots of their not-so-innocent chats being passed around, she finally admitted it. Her excuse? I didn't think it was a big deal because we were just talking. I wasn't going to act on it. That hit me like a punch to the gut. Look, I'm not saying I was the perfect fiancé, but damn, if she was missing the thrills so much, maybe she should have just been honest about it instead of having one foot out the door for months. It was like everything I had been insecure about her not being as into me, her thinking I was too safe, was all tied to this. She didn't even see it as cheating, just a way to keep things exciting. And here's the kicker. After all this, she had the audacity to ask if we could still be friends. I laughed. I literally laughed out loud. I told her, I'm not angry at you. I'm not even bitter. But friends? You gotta be kidding me. So that's where things stand. I'm still sorting through the fallout. Our mutual friends are split down the middle, with some saying I dodged a bullet and others thinking I'm overreacting. It's been messy, but I'm kind of enjoying the chaos in a weird way. I feel like I've been cracked open, and while that's painful, it's also freeing. Here's what I know. I'm not changing who I am. I'm not going to bend over backward to fit someone's idea of excitement. If that makes me boring, so be it. I'd rather be boring and live my life authentically than constantly feel like I'm chasing some adrenaline high that's not even real. As for my ex, who knows what she'll do next? She might end up with that old flame or find someone else who gives her those thrills. But me? I'm done with the drama. For now, I'm just focusing on myself. I've already planned a road trip, just me, my motorcycle, and the open road. No more overthinking, no more second-guessing who I am or what I bring to the table. If someone wants to join me for the ride one day, great. If not, I'll be just fine on my own. But here's the weird part. Right before I left our last conversation, she said something that I can't shake. She looked at me, eyes still red from crying, and said, "You're going to regret this." And I just left. I don't know why, but her words keep echoing in my head. Update 3: after my ex dropped that cryptic, "You're going to regret this" line, I honestly didn't think much of it. I figured it was just her trying to get the last word. Some petty attempt to make me second-guess myself. But man, I should have known better. So, after I left, I hit the road on my motorcycle like I said I would. I needed to clear my head, feel the wind on my face, and just escape the whole mess for a while. I rode through a couple of states, stopped at some small towns, met a few cool people along the way. It was exactly what I needed until I got back to town and found out that my ex had not taken the breakup well at all. Turns out, she wasn't just sitting around crying. No, she was plotting. Apparently, while I was off doing my whole soul-searching road trip thing, she decided to start airing out our relationship in the most dramatic way possible on social media. Now, I'm not one for posting personal stuff online. I've always kept my private life, well, private. But my ex? Oh, she went full scorched earth. She started posting these long, emotional rants on Instagram and Facebook, painting me as the villain in this whole saga. She twisted everything, saying I was emotionally unavailable, insecure, and that I led her on by proposing when I didn't even want to get married. But that wasn't even the worst of it. She started hinting publicly that I had been the one flirting with other women. Yeah, me. The guy who was too safe and predictable to be exciting. Suddenly, I was being accused of secretly demeaning other women and emotionally cheating on her. It was like she took her own behavior and projected it onto me, just to make herself look like the victim. And people? Oh, people ate it up. You wouldn't believe the number of mutual friends who started messaging me, asking if what she said was true. Some people straight up believed her without even asking my side. Others were on the fence, but still, the damage was done. I was the guy who had apparently cheated on her, who had wasted her time, and made her feel unworthy. At first, I was furious. I wanted to confront her, blast her lies for everyone to see. But then I realized that's exactly what she wanted. She wanted a reaction. She wanted me to get caught up in her web of drama so that she could keep playing the victim. And I wasn't about to give her that satisfaction. Instead, I stayed silent. Let people think what they want, right? The truth would come out eventually, and those who knew me really knew me would understand. But the silence didn't sit well with some folks, especially Sarah, the mutual friend who told me about the whole ex-flame thing. She called me again, clearly feeling guilty, and said, "I think you need to know something." Apparently, my ex had been trying to dig up dirt on me, asking around to see if there were any old flames from my past who could back up her claims. She was literally reaching out to people I hadn't spoken to in years, trying to find anything that could make me look bad. And here's where it gets even crazier. Sarah told me that my ex had been in contact with my ex-girlfriend, the one who was obsessed with me and always found me exciting. Yup, that ex. I honestly couldn't believe it. My ex-fiancé had somehow tracked her down and was trying to get her to spill any dirt she could find on me. The weird thing? My old ex actually reached out to me after hearing from her. She said, "I don't know what's going on with you and your fiancé, but she's acting a little unhinged." No kidding. The conversation with my ex-girlfriend was bizarre. She told me that she didn't want to get involved in the drama, but she thought I should know how far my fiancé was willing to go to ruin my reputation. I thanked her for the heads up and immediately blocked her number again, because let's be real, I didn't need any more ex-related chaos in my life. At this point, I was starting to feel like I was living in some kind of soap opera. Here I was, just trying to move on, and my ex-fiancé was spinning this wild narrative where I was the bad guy, pulling in people from my past to do her dirty work. It was exhausting, but then came the real kicker. About a week after I got back into town, I received an anonymous package at my apartment. No return address, no name, nothing. Just a plain brown box. I'll admit, I hesitated to open it, half expecting it to be something crazy like, I don't know, a dead rat or a voodoo doll or some other psychotic gesture. But when I did, I found something I never could have predicted. Inside the box was a stack of printed photos. Photos of me from the past year just going about my life. At the gym, at work, riding my motorcycle, walking out of the coffee shop I go to every morning. And each one had a sticky note attached with something written in my ex's handwriting. Phrases like, "You think you're so independent," and "You're not as exciting as you think you are." It was the most bizarre, unsettling thing I've ever seen. She had been keeping tabs on me. For how long? I have no idea. I called Sarah, completely freaked out, and she confirmed what I had already started to suspect. My ex had been following me, trying to prove some twisted point. She wanted to show me that no matter how exciting I thought I was still that safe, predictable guy she could never feel thrilled by. I didn't waste any time after that. I called a lawyer, changed the locks on my apartment, and filed a restraining order. I wasn't taking any chances. This wasn't just petty post-breakup drama anymore. This was next-level crazy. And now, I'm lying low. I haven't heard from her since I filed the restraining order, but there's this lingering sense of unease, like she's still out there, plotting her next move. Update 4. I wish I could say this is where things cooled down, but if anything, they reached a climax so insane. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. I had no idea when I posted that last update just how far things were about to go. After I filed the restraining order, I thought I had taken care of the situation. I figured my ex would get the message and back off. The photos, the social media posts, it all seemed like the last desperate attempts to mess with me. But, as with everything else in this twisted saga, I underestimated her. About a week after filing the restraining order, I started noticing strange things around my apartment. Little things at first: my bike's helmet strap slightly undone, a different brand of beer in my fridge than the one I buy, the door to my balcony unlocked. I thought I was being paranoid, maybe jumpy from all the recent craziness. I mean, the restraining order was in place. There was no way she could still be around, right? Wrong. One night, I came home from the gym. It was late, around 11 p.m., and my apartment was dark, except for the light I always leave on in the kitchen. I remember walking in, tired and ready to crash, when I noticed something was off. My motorcycle jacket, which I usually hung on the hook by the door, was draped across the couch. My heart started racing, but I tried to stay calm. Maybe I had left it there in a hurry earlier, but then I heard it. A faint noise from the back of the apartment, like someone moving. I froze, adrenaline pumping through me, and before I could even process what I was doing, I grabbed the nearest thing, a metal wrench I'd been using to fix a sink leak earlier in the day, and walked towards the sound. I reached my bedroom, the door slightly ajar. My pulse was hammering in my ears, and I could barely breathe. I pushed the door open, and there she was, my ex-fiancée, sitting on the edge of my bed, flipping through an old photo album I had forgotten I even owned. She looked up at me, calm as ever, and said, "We need to talk." I just stood there, wrench in hand, completely dumbfounded. I mean, what do you even say in a moment like that? I had filed a restraining order, changed my locks, Cut off contact. How the hell did she get in? And what on earth was she doing sitting on my bed, acting like we were still together? I told her, in the firmest voice I could manage, that she needed to leave or I was calling the police. But she just smiled this eerie, calm smile and said, "You're never going to be rid of me." At that moment, something snapped inside me. I realized she wasn't going to go away, not unless I made her. I dropped the wrench, grabbed my phone, and started dialing 911. My hands shaking so bad I could barely hit the buttons. She stood up, walked towards me like she didn't have a care in the world, and said, "I thought you were exciting once. Turns out you're just predictable." I managed to get the operator on the line and tell them what was happening. My ex didn't even flinch. She just walked out of the bedroom, into the living room, and sat down on the couch, waiting. It was like she wanted to be caught. The police arrived within minutes, and she didn't resist at all. They handcuffed her, read her the charges, and escorted her out while she gave me one last look that chilled me to my core. I don't think I'll ever forget that smile. Turns out, she had been stalking me for weeks. She somehow got a copy of my apartment key, likely from when we were still together. I had been sneaking in when I wasn't home, moving things around, leaving little signs that she'd been there. She wanted me to know she was watching. She wanted me to feel unsafe. The whole thing was part of some sick game. Her final way of getting under my skin, proving she could still control me, even after we were over. After she was arrested, I found out even more. Sarah, the mutual friend who had been feeding me information, came clean about something she'd been too scared to tell me before. Apparently, my ex had been talking to a private investigator. She was planning to dig up dirt on me, my family, my friends, my finances, anything she could use to manipulate me or make me look bad. Sarah had caught wind of it and cut her off, but by then, it was too late. My ex was fully obsessed. The court case was short and brutal. With the restraining order in place and the fact that she had broken into my apartment, she didn't stand a chance. She was sentenced to a year in jail for trespassing and stalking, and I was granted a permanent protective order. Here's the kicker, though. When the trial ended, she had one final statement to make. She looked right at me in the courtroom, with that same unsettling calm, and said, "You'll miss me." And you know what? There was a split second, just a second, where I almost believed her. Because for all the chaos, for all the madness, there was a part of me that had been hooked on the drama, the unpredictability. That's what toxic relationships do to you. They make you question reality, make you think that the highs and lows are normal. But I didn't say anything. I just walked out of that courtroom and never looked back. Now, here I am, months later, finally free. No more weird packages, no more late night creeping, no more constant feeling of being watched. I'm still processing everything, but I've learned something important. Being safe isn't boring. Stability isn't the enemy. It's what allows you to live your life without constantly looking over your shoulder, waiting for the next disaster to hit. I've still got my bike, my tattoos, my road trips, but now I'm focused on being the best version of myself for me, not for someone else's approval. I've cut ties with anyone who's still connected to my ex, and I've started fresh. Clean slate. The best part? I don't regret a damn thing.